Brian Rob, J. King, and Sam Packard present Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Boston Celtics, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Oh yeah! Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Boston Celtics, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. And a 19. Jalen Brown, D. White, Crazy Joe. Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. When Tatum coming back. Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Boston Celtics, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Oh yeah!
Come on, don't get the next generation. Guy wants to win. Don't rip no time.
Let's go, you motherfucking Celtics. Let's go, baby. Let's go. You motherfucking Celtics. Let's go.
Let's go, baby! Welcome back to Still Potable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's internet. That is the new theme song from T-Money for 25-26.
T-Money, baby. He did it again.
He did it again.
Mine did it again.
And it's like he knew that the one shining part of this Celtics season would be Ugo, because that's the one thing Celtics fans can hang their hat on. Because the season has not started off great. The Celtics are 0-3. And what was it? They've given up 38 offensive rebounds in the last two games. A close game to the Sixers, a terrible second quarter against the Nets. I would say a terrible third quarter here today against the Detroit Pistons, and just giving up offensive rebound after offensive rebound. And they really can't seem to deal with size. Karl Anthony Towns seemed to give them fits. Jalen Duren was fantastic tonight in Detroit. Jay, you were there in the building in Detroit. You're in Detroit now. What's going on with these Boston Celtics?
First of all, they are not built to rebound defensively. They are going to be a bad defensive rebounding team. The lineups they have to play, the big men they have to play, none of it suggests they should be a good defensive rebounding team. It cannot be this much of a catastrophe. They have grabbed about 58% of available defensive rebounds so far. I believe that would be the worst defensive rebound rate in NBA history. The last decade, the worst defensive rebound rate was 67.8% by the Philadelphia 76ers last season. So their rebounding so far, the Celtics rebounding so far, is like so far beyond unacceptable. Even for a roster like theirs, like you just can't be allowing the second chance opportunities or third chance opportunities that they have early in this season. And obviously that they killed them. Like tonight, they pull within 3 with 4 minutes left. And the next Detroit possession, they force a Tobias Harris miss. Well, Jalen Duren grabs a rebound. He misses too, but Oscar Thompson finishes it off with a dunk. And they gave up 5 offensive rebounds over the last 351. In that stretch, they forced misses on 3 straight possessions, but couldn't close out any of those possessions with a rebound. Just really bad. And I thought like some of it tonight was just like the Pistons were bigger, stronger. But Celtics have to find ways to counteract that, and they haven't been good enough at just like mitigating the damage that they're going to face in that area.
Yeah. Are they just drawing dead of this roster against teams like this, period? Is the question that we're going to find out. And it's going to take more than 3 games to get an answer on that. But the problem, or where it gets compounded, I feel like, Jay, is where they're playing this gambling defense. And so it's one thing to be like smaller, but then if you're playing a gambling defense too, that means guys are going to be out of position and there's going to be scrambling and mismatches. And so that just opens the door for, I think, what we saw in the fourth quarter there, where time after time, like athletic bigs, stronger bigs are able to kind of sneak into position, or even wings in the case of Thompson, to get there and punish what were formerly pretty good defensive possessions, but it doesn't matter because no one's around to or in position to grab a rebound because everyone's kind of scrambling.
Go ahead. You go.
It's like their best 5, though, is there's not a second big man on the floor. And so there's not like, you really are appreciating Jason Tatum being able a skilled, talented perimeter player, but he's also 6'10" and provides a lot of defensive rebounding. You mentioned the scrambling, B-Rob, and it's like, oh, Nimi is the one who, or I guess down the stretch, it was Luka Garza. He's the one contesting that shot. And like, I know the classic thing is like, you got to box out, you got to get a body on a guy. Derek White versus Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren's going to win that every single time. And I feel like it was Derek White and Sam Hauser going up against these centers, or just Oscar Thompson, who can jump out the gym. And it's like, yes, you got to get a body on the guy. You got to do something better. But at some point, there's just a matchup there that's like, are you going to take Derek White off the floor? Because like, that's what Joe Mazzulla said he was going to do if someone doesn't get a defensive rebound. He was going to start yanking guys. But like, there's not a lot Derek White can do there. And so if you're doing all this scrambling and you have this one big man and Sam Hauser's your closing power forward, you're screwed. And I don't know who they bring in to like kind of beef up the defensive back line to help with the rebounding. Like, I just don't know who that option is at this point.
It turns out that losing Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Luke Cornett, and Kristaps Porzingis in the same offseason would actually not help the Celtics get better at rebounding.
Shocking.
It's been really bad and today down the stretch was as bad as it's gotten. That was just like, they could not get any rebound, and they had a chance to win the game. They had a fourth quarter comeback brewing. They cut it to 3, and you just can't get a rebound the rest of the way. Just cannot do it. It can't be that bad. So either Joe has to find lineups that can rebound, or they just need to do a better job with the lineups that they have out there. Obviously, he started to tinker with things a little bit and really like change the way he had lineups in the first place. Like, Ugo went from not playing on opening night to now he's starting. Josh Minot went from not playing in the second game to he's closing. And so I think Joe has recognized that they need more size, more athleticism on the wing at times. It's just, are those going to be your best lineups? Like, if Ugo's out there, he didn't score tonight. He started and didn't score. I still think he was good. Like, but you're giving up something when you start him instead of Sam Hauser, and you're giving up something when you close with Minot. Maybe you're getting more than you're giving up, but it's not as easy as it was last year when it was like everybody they put on the court could do everything. You didn't have to sacrifice offense. You didn't have to sacrifice defense because you had nothing but two-way players who could excel in every facet of the game, who had size everywhere. Now you just have to sacrifice something. And I think defensive rebounding, they're going to have to sacrifice to some extent. It can't be this bad. I also think they have to do a better job offensive rebounding. Like, if you're going to be this bad at defensive rebounding, you can't rank 18th in offensive rebounding. You have to have more of an effort crashing the glass. You have to have Nimi be a force on the glass. You have to have, Chris Boucher coming in and getting you extra possessions, and Ugo needs to be crashing like he always seems to be. But like 18th just isn't going to be good enough the way this team is built. They need to do a better job with crashing, and that's been a huge emphasis for them, and one of the areas that they've really fallen short on so far.
Hitting some 3-pointers would help too. If you're going to play,
they got to win the margin game. Like, they got to really crank up the 3-point margin if they're going to be losing the second chance point battle. And right now they're just, Derek White's taking them, not really making them. Peyton Pritchard's launching them, not doing great. I thought they, like, in terms of offensive process, like, they had some clear times where they kind of slowed down. I feel like the Pistons went on like 6 10-0 runs or 8-0 runs or 10-2 runs in this game, and like kind of came back in the game earlier against the Celtics. But they just have these stretches. I think the Knicks second quarter was another example of this, where their offense, I think it's like fine process, but if you're not going to be making these open threes, there's like so much more pressure falls on Derek White and Peyton Pritchard to knock down open looks, and probably too much so. Like, I think the process has been there. Peyton Pritchard has maybe been a little ambitious, but I like Peyton Pritchard being aggressive, but he's taken some deep ones. But like, if you're not going to rebound, like the margin for error they have right now to win basketball games is so much slimmer than it was last year.
Yeah, right now, I between Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Anthony Simons, those guys are shooting 25.7% from deep. That's 0-3.
Ball game.
Like, this team is not built to overcome that. You don't have really any shooting in the supporting cast other than Sam Hauser, if you want to consider him supporting cast, because your bigs can't shoot anymore.
That's another big issue. Like they don't like the blessing that was Kristaps and Al Horford of having bigs on the perimeter who are reliable 3-point shooters. Now it's just like anytime a Tillman 3 is taken, you kind of just praying. Minot, I think, made one today, but that's a pray. Garza, none of the bigs are reliable like spacers, and it's just a completely different. Because like we're so used to everybody on this Joe Mazzulla coach team just launching, and it's like I don't think I want any big man launching at this point. And you kind of need a Minot, you kind of need Boucher to kind of take threes if they're going to be at the 4, especially. But not having 5 guys on the court, especially when you have wings like Ugo, who he can shoot a little bit, but it's not like you have world beaters out there in terms of 3-point shooting. And so it turns out less rebounding and less shooting has made the team worse at basketball.
Who would have ever thought? But I do think like some of that is just early season luck. Like Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons, those guys they're gonna knock down 3-pointers, and it's gonna be different for them. Like I don't think they'll be as efficient as they were before, but I believe strongly that eventually Derek White and Peyton Pritchard will make shots, and Anthony Simons will make shots, and it's only a matter of time for that. But on the nights they don't, there's just very few ways to make up for it. You don't have, like Packer said, the margin for error. Like if Peyton Pritchard is not shooting well, like there's not really anybody to pick up that slack unless like Jalen or Derek just goes off or Simons goes off.
And Jaylen Brown kind of went off today.
Yeah, right. 41, right?
Like, a very solid game.
And that's the thing. It's like, and you've even looked at the first half of that game. It's like they got up by 17, and then when like midway through the fourth quarter, and you're like, or the second quarter, and they're already like it got down to 5 or 6. The Pistons and the Pistons weren't even shooting well. That's like, that's where again it kind of comes out of being like how thin the margin of error is for this team from a standpoint of the rebounding. The Pistons got to the free throw line a ton during like the lob stuff was during the third quarter. Like that was just back like easy stuff for the Pistons time after time, or the Celtics offensively when they get in the half court really have to work hard. And the openings for White and Pritchard and company, like they're not getting the looks. Like they've missed open looks, but they're also not getting the looks they got amazing looks all last 2 or 3 years for the most part. And now some of those windows are getting smaller for those guys too. So that's certainly impacting those numbers. But I'm going to go glass half full here, guys, for a second. Realistically, though, they're 0-3. The Knicks and the Pistons losses, those are expected losses here. And they should have beat the Sixers on opening night. So as awful as the rebounding has been, as awful as the 3-point shooting has been, 0-3 record looks terrible. Like, realistically, I think 1-2 was the reasonable expectation coming out of the gate here, right? Like, against these teams.
I mean, the 76ers, Joel Embiid was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you need to win that game.
Celtics,
you need to win that game.
They started a 2-way guy, and Celtics got beat at home. That's not like an impossible game to win. The Knicks,
you should have that.
The Pistons is not an impossible game to win. Like
the Pistons are not like an invincible juggernaut.
They're not a juggernaut, but that's like
you're
top 5 East
like
team.
Play the '96 Bulls 3 times. In a row.
No, I'm saying 1-2 would have been a reasonable expectation out of the gate here. Like that's, and they should have been if they didn't crap down their pants against the Sixers. They blew that game. They should have won that game. That game is going to come back to haunt them if they start 0-6 or 0-7 here or something like that. But winning against the Pistons on the road, I mean that Pistons team is a damn good team. I think that's a top 5 team in the East. It's a team the Celtics can play with, but I didn't expect them to win this game by any means.
And that's a sign of where the Celtics are right now. That you look at the Pistons and you're like, They expected this loss. The Jaylen Brown, obviously, then they go back to back to New Orleans. Jaylen Brown said that he's dealing with a tight hamstring. He said it felt tight today, even though he scored 41. But from the sound of it, he knows that they're pretty urgent right now for a win, and he's going to do whatever it takes to play in that back-to-back. He said he's going to try to be out there every night. I think he realizes like just how bleak things could get if he does miss time here. And even though he's a little banged up, like he seems pretty desperate to be out there right away. And I think that's part of him setting a tone, but it's also him knowing like, yeah, this could get ugly pretty fast if they don't start racking up some wins. And man, 0-3. This is our first 3-game losing streak since March of 2023. March of 2023. They also had a 3-game losing streak in 2023 in the playoffs against the Heat in that first 3 games.
Yeah, they did.
I do recall that one. Yes,
but
did anyone storm into the locker room after this one and break shit?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I don't think it was that type of locker room. Peyton Pritchard was funny. He said that he didn't think he'd ever had a 3-game losing streak before. Like, it's been so long that Peyton Pritchard had no recollection of ever having a 3-game losing streak before. And it's the first time that Jaylen Brown's ever lost the first 3 games of a season. This is like
2013, right? Like that was the last time they did it. Brad's first year.
Yeah, so this is new territory for a lot of these guys, and franchises have been used to winning a lot of games very consistently for a long time. Now, you got to go on the road on the second leg of a back-to-back to avoid 0-4.
What was the vibe in the locker room, Jay? Like after this one?
So I don't think they're like they're super.
They shouldn't be panicking. Like it's still
they're
early.
not panicking. They seem like they feel that they're pretty close and that they're not playing the worst basketball ever, that they could have won all 3 of these games. And like tonight, they were right there. The Philly game, they should have won. They were up 9 with 3 minutes left. The Knicks game, like with the exception of the worst second quarter in the history of mankind, they had 3 good quarters there otherwise. I think they realized that this would be a challenge putting this team together and figuring out what works for this group. And that's sort of the messaging that they're putting out there, that this is okay, that they're figuring stuff out, and that they're going to just try to grow and learn from this. Pritchard kind of laughed. He's like, yeah, if we just made any level of shots, we'd be 2-1 and nobody would be this mad, which probably true. Like they really have shot the ball poorly, but also like they just don't have the same outs that they used to have when they shot poorly. Like there's just not a lot else. They need their perimeter shots to go in. They're going to shoot a ton of threes still. And right now, like with the exception of Jaylen Brown, who else is putting pressure on the rim? Nobody. Peyton Pritchard got there a couple times. Like Derek White can do it to some extent, but like Nemi's not giving them much. He had a pretty good opening night, but since then, like hasn't done much. Garza played tonight. Tillman did not play. And Boucher, like he was a preseason standout, but hasn't really impacted any of these games so far. So they got a lot to figure.
How long till this team has like a clear rotation, or do we think it's just going to be like DNPs for some guys and then it's not allegations, it's facts.
You're damn right. I'm injecting. I got fat, guys. The allegations are true.
Let's read the comment here.
Leonardo Uzbekistan, who last episode accused me of hair plug allegations, is now coming for Jay, saying address the
1 for 2. He's 1 for 2. Yeah.
Oh, Jay, you look great.
Zep bound.
I complimented you on a haircut before we started recording. You don't have a haircut. It's just that you look rail thin. So maybe it's the Zep bound that is doing it for you there.
Yeah. I've lost 45 pounds.
Whoa, what? That was
So much
not
ready
a
to go for this
number I
season.
was expecting. And yet you looked so awful playing the Celtics coaches. You did not bend your knees once in any of those videos.
I was furious.
I could tell how angry you were.
I was so mad that whole time.
Getting back to the Celtics, like Ugo started today, and then Minot played a serious role after having a DNP against the Knicks. Like, when are we going to have an actual rotation, or do you think it's just going to be like Joe experimenting for the first 20 games? And like, how hard is it for Minot to
it's
like?
gonna be quick. I think it's gonna be quick. I don't know if
Gotta be quick.
I don't know if starting lineup will be settled. I don't know if like closing lineup will be settled, but I think it's pretty clear that Ugo and Josh Minot need to play. I don't know what Josh Minot did to not play in the second game. I have no idea what he did to have Jordan Walsh and Baylor Shireman play in that game while he watched from the bench. But Ugo Gonzalez, Josh Minot, they play the brand of chaos that the Celtics want. They work, they get deflections,
They're super athletic. Both
They're
of them.
athletic, they're long. They give the Celtics that layer of bounciness that they need. And I think it should be pretty settled from here. Like Ugo needs to play a significant amount and Minot needs to play a significant amount. What you do with your bigs, that's still kind of in the air.
Tough
But
benching for Tillman in
everything
front of
else-
the Michigan fans.
Yeah. But everything else I think is abundantly clear to me, at least.
Yeah, like in your
Ugo and Minot just deserve to be out there, and I don't think anybody else does.
let's make a bench like trust ranking, like pairing it down. Like those guys need to play. Simons is obviously gonna play.
What does that guy do? What does Simons do?
That's his problem right now. I mean, he's been
this out.
Right.
Yeah, but he's getting what? 15, but like he needs to be if he's closer to 18 points a game and he's like replacing the scoring if Derek White and Payne Pritchard are not making threes, but like the lineups, it feels like, and it's very early on, very small sample size, when Jaylen Brown is not on the court, it's just like there's not a go-to scorer. And I thought Simons, and maybe he's just doing a good job playing with the flow of the offense and like not forcing things, but I thought he would be. And maybe I'm absolutely scapegoating him because he's a new guy and he's probably not going to be here. But I just don't know what he's giving you on the defensive end. And I thought he would be more of a volume scorer than he is at this point. And that's probably not a fair criticism.
Part of it too is he just hasn't made 3-point shots yet. And once he does, it'll look different and you'll be happier with him. But that's what he does. Like he's always been a very productive scorer. And his defense, like the rest of the game, hasn't really been there. This is not new. But you do have to, when you play him, and especially when you play him like with White or with Pritchard, like that only exacerbates the defensive rebounding issues because they play some really, really small lineups at times. And just like.
Do you think Minot eventually starts because he's just like gives you some size at the 4 that like Hauser doesn't give you? Like, do you eventually close? Like he closed today, I think, to give you a little bit more size, but he closed with Garza, who's not a large man. Like he can do some stuff on the offensive glass, but he's not like the biggest guy. Like, what is the solution to trying to get more size out there? Because it feels like the only button Joe can press right now is Minot, and he's like Minot's not even the biggest dude.
I mean, Chris Boucher played 9 minutes, but there's not much if he's not hitting 3, he didn't do much in this game. He looked good in the preseason, but he hasn't done much throughout this year so far. So, yeah, like I think giving a bigger, but then are you like, if you're starting Minot, then are you assuming Ugo's only starting 1 game now for Hauser? Like I wonder how that, I mean, obviously they're going to be mixing and matching there, but I think Ugo, like I like Ugo in the starting 5 now. I feel like I like him pressuring whoever just hounding whoever the ball handler is on the other team, taking some of the onus off of Derek and Peyton and Jaylen for that.
But I also thought that set up a second unit that just had limited athleticism. Like you bring in Simons, Hauser, and Garza together, and it's like And it seemed like I think the Celtics were up 29-12, and then things just kind of went the other way. And I thought part of it was you bring in that second unit, and it didn't have enough.
I agree. Like, you have to figure out the mixing match. Like, I don't know, like, play Ugo more. I was surprised. Like, he played 18 minutes, and again, the offensive trade off there, but I think with him in mind, like, maybe when Simon's on the court, like, just surround him with athletic energy, like good defenders, and then let him kind of do what he does offensively. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think there are also periods in that game where like Jalen and Derek are off the floor together, and that puts a lot of onus on the offense there. So I think figuring out that part of the offensive equation here, because it's, you're given you're below average on both ends of the floor right now, and so I think you have to at least like figure out one side or the other with some of these lineups if it's there to figure out.
What, like, Ugo today was like matching minute for minute with Cade Cunningham, and then that just stopped as soon as the fourth quarter happened. Like, I thought he did a decent job, frustrated him. It was just it was weird to start him and give him that much time, 17 minutes through the first three quarters, and then just not play him at all. Like, Jay, did you see anything, or is it just like we need more size out there, so we're going to go a little bit bigger down the stretch? Because like I thought they played pretty well, like in terms of the process and like coming back in the game. They won the quarter, I think, by 7 or 8 points. Like, I thought it was pretty decent. It was just the not being able to rebound multiple possession after multiple possession. But it was weird how like dedicated they seemed. Like Cade comes out, Ugo comes out, and that seemed to be the strategy for the first three quarters, and then that was completely abandoned in the fourth.
Yeah, and I thought Ugo had just another very promising defensive performance too. Like, he had a block on the first Pistons possession. He had a couple steals in the first few minutes. He forced a couple offensive fouls. Like, he's just a chaos agent out there. He really is. And then some of his other stuff kind of is funny too. Like, he was dribbling the ball in transition and just kind of dribbled right into Oscar Thompson and just lost it. And then it's just kind of like, you're going to have to live with some of the mistakes, I think. But the upside is that he's going to frustrate guys. He's going to pick up guys full court. He's not going to shy away from challenges. And he brings just a level of physicality that I think the Celtics are going to need down the stretch. Yeah, I think Joe's just kind of searching for who to trust, searching for just ways to, and I think it makes his job tougher that, like, you don't want to have a lot of non-shooters on the floor at the same time. And if you have even Ugo and Josh Minott out there at the same time, like, that could be a real issue. If you have Ugo, Josh Minott, and Garza, like, that could be a real issue. If you have two of those guys and Chris Boucher, like, you just have cramped spacing everywhere. And I just think, like, they just have a very flawed roster, and it could take Joe a little while to figure out, like, who he trusts the most in key situations. And not only that, but like what to call in key situations, because before it was Jason Tatum's show. Like, Jason Tatum was going to be involved in every action. You would usually have whoever had like the worst defender would be in the pick and rolls with Jason Tatum, and he would just bludgeon people possession after possession. Now you have to figure out like how to run offense to attack weak links on the other side. And I think that's just going to take some time, because everything you used to do in the past, almost all of it relied on Jason Tatum. And now, like, you're just putting guys in different situations, and they all need to handle that. I think that's part of why, White has been as inefficient as he's been through 3 games. It's like totally different world. You're not living in with the same level of advantages that Jason Tatum helped create, that having, nothing but great shooters out there helped create. And everything's just going to be a little tougher now, and they have to get used to that. They have to adjust to that. And I think they will, but there are definitely going to be some growing pains, especially as you start or rely heavily on a 19-year-old from Spain who wasn't even in the rotation for Real Madrid a lot of the time last year. And you work in guys like Josh Minot has never played minutes. Luka Garza has never played minutes in the NBA. They were both closing tonight. So guys, like, you went from having the most experienced roster, everybody had been in huge games, everybody knew what to do all the time, to guys who are just learning the way of the NBA. And that is a huge, huge gap of knowledge that they're going to have to cover up somehow.
Garza closing confused me tonight.
I thought they were taking Nimi out at like the 5-minute mark to like, because he had 5 fouls and they wanted to keep him down the stretch, and then he just didn't come back. And it was that was interesting. Garza, I think, was a -12 today. Classic single game plus minus, and he shouldn't overanalyze it. But like, it's really wild that he is the backup center. That there's just no other 7-footers on this roster. I guess Amari Williams, but he got in against the Knicks. That was fun.
Yeah, like Garza's coming off like concussion stuff, so give him some time there. But out of like the new additions to the mix right now, that's one where
he also had a couple of like very borderline fouls that could have gone either way. That hurt. I think he ended up with 4 fouls, and Nimi had 5. So they're a hacking ass front court.
They're a hacking ass team. I mean, the Pistons went to the line 36 times, I think, and like 16 in that third quarter. I think the good news for the Celtics is that the next team they play doesn't have a center. And I know they just signed DeAndre Jordan. I don't know if DeAndre Jordan is going to be suiting up for the Pelicans. But right now, the Pelicans center options are Zion Williamson, who I think is their starting center, and then Derek Queen, the rookie from Maryland. And so they're also 0-2. Both teams are going to be desperate for their first win of the season. It's going to be a pretty epic battle down on the Bayou. But I think this is the Celtics' good chance to get that first win, because I think, as we saw with Cat, I think and we saw with Jaren Duran, they're just going to have they're going to have trouble with kind of decent sized bigs this year. And luckily, the Pelicans don't really have one. Zion is a physical freak.
Like boxing him out, Packard. Right? You're saying like, yeah, they got to break. No, you got to box out Zion Williamson.
Vertical game. Maybe you'll get Zion a little bit tired, but like, I feel like they got beat over the top, especially with all the lobs and stuff to Durant tonight. Like, maybe they can do some more, like a small ball. Like the roster is just built. Like, if they can get away with a small lineup, like that's why I think they were solid against the Sixers game. Is like Embiid's not playing down the stretch. Nimi was actually able to do some stuff down the stretch against the Sixers because they had such a smaller lineup in there. So maybe you can do some more stuff over the top against the Pelicans, unless DeAndre Jordan throws it back and is now the starting center for the Pelicans. But like, it feels like they're just kind of doomed anytime they play a talented 7-footer. And it turns out there's a lot of talented 7-footers in the NBA. Size does seem to matter in basketball.
Are we calling like Jalen Duren a talented 7-footer?
This is
the bar right now.
The
Pistons are big, they're physical, they're strong. Duren is big, he's physical and strong. But it's not like I would say
he's 6'10". You're right, Jay.
Towns is a very good center. Embiid was not playing like a very good center when he played the Celtics.
They played their best game against Embiid because he was bad.
And like, if you can't handle like the Pistons big men, then you could be in a lot of trouble.
They're 0-3. I think they're in a lot of trouble. They can't handle a Pistons big man.
Like, you got Zion, you're gonna deal with Zion Monday night. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley on Wednesday, Embiid again on Friday. And he actually played, he looked much better against the Hornets on Saturday night.
My God, when the Rockets come to town, they're
and the Rockets on the fifth game in 7 nights.
Man.
Good God. I mean,
Steven Adams and Şengün just throwing aside Celtics
this means
players on their way to 95 offensive rebounds.
Gotta win Monday night. You really gotta win.
It is a must win. It is turned into a must win because they could be 0-7 to start the year.
That would be tough. 0-7 would be a tough start.
At that point, when do you start watching Cam Boozer highlights? And a lot of the fan base is already retweeting Boozer highlights on the timeline. I think it's way too early to fully embrace the tank, but 0-7, I might change my tune. But definitely, I don't know how surprising this is. Like, I think at least I like kind of talked myself into the chaos, and like this team might be better. They're creating some, like, I think they're doing some of that chaos stuff. It led to, I feel like, some fouling, but I feel like the generating of turnovers is there. They have moments. Like, if we're going to put on the optimistic cap, they've had moments. They've played 36 minutes in all of these games. They've had good stretches. It's just about that consistency. And again, it comes back to that margin of error, and you miss Jason Tatum. Turns out Jason Tatum, top 5 player in this league, pretty helpful.
One of my buddies texted me that Jason Tatum should win MVP this year.
Retroactive MVP. Yeah. And retroactive all defense.
All defense.
Sure. Yeah.
It was interesting though, like when Jalen talking to you guys after the game, Jay, being like, he's like, I got to rebound more. He's kind of, because I think he kind of looks at him being like, because he's the 4 now in this team essentially with these lineups, and he's had his nights rebounding over his career, but to do it, yeah, I guess you got maybe different level of respect now for Tatum, just how good Tatum was at that now, because Jalen has to carry so much offensively, and then also, clearly they need a lot of help in that area, and he's one of the only guys with size and athleticism to do anything about it.
Yeah, the Celtics have been a very good defensive rebounding team for a while now. This is all new, and like you said, part of it is just the void of Jason Tatum, his ability to guard centers and blow up opposing pick and rolls while also holding his own on the glass. Like, there aren't many guys who can do that, and he made it look very easy. It was easy to overlook his impact in that way because it just seemed like it was nothing. It's not nothing. It's really freaking hard to do, and the guys that the Celtics have aren't doing it. They aren't doing it. But also, like, it's not just the loss of Tatum. Like, their rebounding was very poor comparatively when Nimi was on the floor last year. Now he's a starting center. Luka Garza has literally always been a better offensive rebounder than defense. Like, he has a better offensive rebound rate than defensive rebound rate for his career. He is not a great defensive rebounder. He's their backup center, or was tonight. And then you're playing super small lineups, a lot of small guards on top of it. You're giving up size against the Pistons, like every position. And all that stuff adds up. And on top of that, you're trying to go for steals and out of position sometimes because of it. Can't have a 58% defensive rebound rate though over your first 3 games. Cannot do it. You're not going to win many games that way.
What's a number? What's the goal percentage?
If they get up to like 69%,
Nice.
70%, like that would still be really bad, but it would be like reasonably bad.
Let's see I want to see what the worst in the league was last year. Let's get
the Sixers.
Let's see what we got here. I'll pull this up. Worst in the league last year was 67.8 against you. Nailed it, Packard Sixers. 67.8%. 69% would be 26th in the league. I think that's a reasonable goal.
That's it's not a total disaster, but you're still really bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best you can hope for with the current roster. Like, I think you just can't be the worst. You can't be the worst of all time at rebounding. Because if they were not the worst of all time, if there was like 5 second chance points opportunities down the stretch of this game against the Pistons, and if they change 2 of those, if they just change those into stops, they have a good chance of winning this basketball game. Because they were getting the buckets on offense, they just could not, and they got the initial stop, but defense continues all the way until you get possession, and it just killed them. And so you can be bad, just not colossally, horrendously bad. That's the 25-26 Celtics, baby. That's what we can hope for. G-Money
to embrace the tank.
Grant, we're not tank. It's not even November yet. We can't tank yet. At least let a soft tissue injury happen or something. They still can figure things out. Believe in this team to go and maybe win 35 games. And this team's got 9 seed written all over for it. And you're gonna want them to tank? That's ridiculous.
See how this week goes.
You're already
No, that's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. But it just really like Celtics should have prepped fans. Be like, listen, we've got 5 games and 7 nights. This should have been a disclaimer at the start of the season. Like, best case scenario after 2 weeks was probably going to be like 3-4. That would have been like an amazing start. And
when do we play the Hornets? When do we play the Wizards? When do we play the Nets?
They got Jazz game 8 at the Garden.
They already played the 76ers when Joel Embiid was dog shit, horse
undefeated 76ers.
And they got beat.
76ers are in this town. They got 76ers fever. So, yeah, then they got the Jazz, the Wizards, the double Magic games.
People are already looking at
we can be scouting college guys in like December. I don't think not on Joe Mazzulla's watch. Not if he has. I don't know what he's going to do here. They're going to have to do what big are they going to find out of the G League that's going to be good at rebounding?
Yeah, is there a roster
that
fix?
guy probably is.
I don't know if there's anyone they can bring in who's the power forward or the backup center.
Now when they cost $20 million with the repeater tax penalties, that's this roster's your roster for at least till December.
Mouthpiece is staying optimistic. He said, "He's played terrible, yet every game was winnable. Team is much better than the average human can understand. Average humans just cannot see."
We'd like to think we're above average human. The process has been not bad. The execution, especially on defense, and the shooting. You change the shooting variance, they're 2-1, and so they start not making down shots. It's that margin of error. They're really not going to win a lot of games when Derek White and Peyton Pritchard shoot this poorly from 3. Like, they just don't have it in them. Whereas they could have, I think last year and the year before, like they would have bad shooting performances and you would lose, but they had like really bad shooting performances. They shoot 12%. They could make it up on the other way on the margins. They're going to lose the defense. They're going to lose the rebound and where else. They have to like really win the margins. And that's either making a bunch of threes or creating a lot more turnovers and getting a bunch of easy buckets in transition. They got a decent amount of steals and they got some points in transition, but not enough to make up for those 30-second chance points by the Pistons.
Payne Pritchard led team in rebounds tonight.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen.
A lot. 10 boards for Dole for Payne Pritchard. You guys start Ugo going forward?
Maybe. Who do the Pelicans have? You need to throw Ugo out there on?
Jordan Poole.
Bro.
Here's the thing. I don't think you need to have a star for him. Like, he was picking up Tyler Kolek at times in the Knicks game and forcing him to do dumb shit and taking the Knicks out of their offense. So sometimes, like, his job won't be to shadow a star. It will be to get up.
I kind of like that. I like that energy off the bench, though. I like that kind of as like a change of pace.
Might not be that guy off the bench, though.
Minot's not guarding guards full court, and like they did pick up full court for a large portion of this game, like no matter who was on the court. But I just do like Ugo chasing around screens, being a high energy guy. I think they got to figure out the rotation of like when to bring in these energy guys, who to put with these energy guys, and I think maybe trim down the rotation a bit where you have clearer roles and you only are playing 9 guys instead of like 11 every first half and just throwing shit against the walls. But it's early in the season. You got to try a bunch of stuff because you're never going to know until you find out what works. JS Town asked who's guarding Zion. I would imagine Jaylen Brown is because I don't know who else you have out to throw against him.
Nemi, maybe.
Nemi's going to get Zion through his chest and pick up how many fouls in the first quarter if that happens.
You're not a Nemi believer still.
No, I was a Nemi believer after game 1. I thought him fouling out really changed the tenor of that fourth quarter. But no, I'm not a Nemi believer, but there's really no other option.
You're not a Garza believer.
I'm not a Garza believer. Garza has not inspired belief in me quite yet.
They were saving Tillman for Zion tonight.
Tillman gets a how does that that has to mess with players to get a DMP and then be like you're guarding Zion the next.
Now bringing up I wonder the Tillman knees situation with a back-to-back here was part of the thinking of being like, all right, we want to keep Tillman relatively healthy this year. Like we we don't want to play him back-to-back game. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But I imagine he gets a chance on Monday night because, like you said, Nimi's probably going to be dealing with some foul troubles, my guess, if Zion's on in that game.
Just conceding Nimi foul trouble.
No, it's just, I mean, like, you're going to try to play Nimi 30 minutes in the game.
Oh, yeah, my guess is that dude will be foul trouble.
I'll take those odds. 5 games coming up. 5 games in 7 days, boys. It's going to be a busy week.
The push to go 1-4. That's the Celtics attempt.
Stay above water. Keep the head above water.
Just gotta survive
Turbulent seas.
These first couple of games. That's gonna do it for us, folks. We'll be back, of course, like we always are. More this week. Talking to you after the Pelicans game. Talking to you after the Cavs game. Talking to you in between. We are still Potable here for you with all the Celtics coverage you need. Here on the YouTubes, on the Twitter. So follow us at Still Potable on X. Also, if you want more bonus content from us, you want all of our content, you want Jay and B-Rob at these games doing a little videos, you want Jay doing an excellent film breakdown of Hugo Gonzalez's first game in the NBA, go to the Patreon, patreon.com/StillPotable. Subscribe today. You get all of our content there. You also get the pods and stuff ad-free. So if that you want to support us that way, we greatly appreciate it. Appreciate all the people who joined us in chat right now. And we'll be back later this week, hopefully after the Celtics' first win against the Pelicans. For Jay, for B-Rob, I'm Sam Jam Packer. We appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode of Still Potable.
Still Potable, Still Potable.